Ten Commandments still serve as a code of conduct in order for civilized society. The Decalogue is the foundation for all of our civil law. There's something about each of those commandments, though, that kind of like hark back to a sentiment, an internal kind of clock, before they were ever written down or even revealed by God to Moses. For they're built very much into the way we're created, the way God made us. It's basically called natural law. Take stealing, for instance. We have laws in society that prosecute thieves. But think about the consequences of stealing. There's the injustice of people, the kind of security they have to put together in order to protect themselves, the reputation that's harmed by the individual that does the stealing, the name that is lost of the family, that is besmirched by the actions of an individual. Think about honesty as an example. It's absolutely essential for good business practices. We depend on things being honest. We depend on truth and honesty in every transaction. Think about keeping promises. When we've made a promise, we have to keep it. Because if we don't keep it, there's a whole lot of things that are the consequences thereof. And so the law about thou shalt not commit adultery really is a law about promises. Promises to hold on to the family fabric, the protection of children, and simply doing what's right by keeping the promises that you've made to be faithful. These 10 Commandments have stood the test of time for centuries. In a sense, they're the skeleton that holds together a society and keeps it stable. When Jesus saw injustice happening, especially when it was a kind of injustice that had a lot of levels to it, he became very angry. And we see this righteous anger demonstrated today in the gospel. These money changers were charging exorbitant rates, 20 times higher than the normal exchange rate outside of the temple area. The animals that had to be purchased for sacrifice, way more expensive. Not just a little bit more, but way more expensive. And those were the only animals that they could use for the sacrifice. And the religious authorities were wrapped up in this by giving permission to these people to set up their tables and wares in the temple. It was in the court of the Gentiles, the most outer circle of the temple, where anyone could go. It's there that these tables were set up, and it's there where Jesus takes the whip of cords and kicks them out. This was no loving one's neighbor, all for the sake of religion. What do we take away from this message today, of the 10 Commandments and of this story about Jesus in the temple? Well, keeping the commandments, all of them, turns us into fools for the sake of Christ. Because it means putting God first in our lives. The first 3 commandments really are about God, about keeping His name holy, about keeping Him as the most important thing in our life, not having anything beyond Him and before Him, keeping holy His day. And even the honoring of father and mother is tied up with our honoring of God, because we're sent to receive a blessing from God when we honor our parents. And so that honoring the parents has to do with 2 ways: the parents honoring the kids honoring the parents. These commandments keep us. In a sense, they're the essence of a good relationship. They're the essence of a good relationship. It's what a relationship has to have in order for it to be a good relationship. And God calls us to a relationship with Him. He calls us to a relationship with our neighbors. And those relationships are built upon agreements of justice and respect for each other. That's what the 10 Commandments is all about. No marriage relationship can endure long when there is no kindness or care or respect or time given to one another. So it is with our God. The respect that He needs from us in terms of our weekly observance of the Sabbath, in terms of the way we treat His name. All those things are the way it is with God to perform and to practice that relationship we have with Him, to improve it, to continue to grow in it. This past week has been a week of extremes, and at this point in time, pretty much, I don't have anything left in my bucket anymore. The Gaudium et Spes Youth Rally that we had on Wednesday was a wonderful, beautiful success. I hope the kids, in one way or another, really experienced the presence of the Lord in their life at that event and just had a great time. It was a great experience for us to host that here. 550 people packed into the Warner Activity Center for a day of reflection on the goals of our diocese, how we are one church, how we need to encounter Jesus, how we're equipped to be disciples, and how we live in mercy. 550 children, teens, and adults sang and prayed and talked and shared, and at the end found the one thing that makes us one church as we adore Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament in a darkened gym lit by 500 little LED candles. Encountering Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. With 4 great talks by Father Kiter and the homily that we began the Mass with here, and Father Olson with the talk on encountering Jesus, and Father Forget with equipping disciples, and Father Pedraza with living mercy. Contrasting that experience, which was such a high point, were so many other experiences on the other end of the spectrum. The funeral for little Spencer Lammers, the 5-month-old son of Chris and Kara. The funeral for a 41-year-old gentleman by the name of Brad Gaten. And in the middle of all that, a pep rally to send our Cedar girls to state with a great showing, since they were the 8th seed and they gave the first seed a run for their money. To the mission of Frank Runyon here that I wish more people could have seen and been to. What a wonderful speaker he was. And special thanks to CJ over at the public school, who sent a flyer home to the kids so that the parents could make permission for their kids to come to this. And we had well over 60 kids come over from the public school to watch that performance. And then Frank's talks on those 2 evenings that he was here. Couple that with the experience of a family that had lost their baby 5 months into the womb. Burial at the cemetery this summer, the baby of Rob and Lexi Humble. Then in the middle of all this, getting ready for a right-to-life breakfast and a baptism at this Mass. I can't help but think that God gives us sometimes these intense experiences of life to remind us about what's really important. That it's our relationship with Him that we got to keep strong. Because if we don't, we're not going to get through these other things that come our way. Rainstorms happen. The beauty of a little baby to be baptized, the sadness of a mom and dad who lose their baby. You can't have it more diverse than that, what life can do. But that's life in a parish. It's full of love for hurting people, and it's full of joy for young people, and all in all, it's full of hope. And yet we're not perfect. We're not perfect because we don't always take the opportunity to reach out to those who are hurting. Many times because we don't know what to say, and so we say nothing. It's probably easier to learn this line than any other. I really don't know what to say, but I'm praying for you. And in the Gospel today, the last line from the experience of the cleaning of the temple. And many began to believe in Him. Well, the signs are all around